When I arrived at the lake, I found Snow White sitting on the pier, looking out at the water just like always. I considered calling out to him, but stopped myself. He was peering down at the water like he had half a mind to jump in. Silently, I stood beside him and followed suit. At least this way I could sort of understand how he felt. The water rippled slowly. Milky moonlight reflected off the surface. There was a full moon tonight. Why was Snow White so obsessed with this lake anyway? Why are we so obsessed with it? Just then the wind petered out and the waters gradually fell still. Instantly, the surface transformed into an almost perfect upside-down mirror image, almost as though an upside-down world was trapped just beneath. I reached out to it. Could I pass through to the other side? Just then, Snow White grabbed my hand. Snow White? I looked up to find him staring at me, wide-eyed. A moment later, he was back to his usual stoic expression. He gazed at me intently. So I stared right back into his eyes, silently challenging him. As if to say, if you have something to say, then say it. Normally, he would have immediately averted his eyes, but not this time. As he scrutinized me, he spoke as quietly as the lake itself.
Do you like the way you look?
What? On one hand, the question felt so sudden, but on the other hand, everything about our friendship was sudden. He probably had a good reason for asking. I just didn't know what it was yet. After a moment of silence, I let out a long breath. Do you like the way you look? Yes. I'm starting to wonder now if she, even changed her appearance in this world. Maybe she looks more like her brother in reality. I don't know. Yeah, I like it. It gets me a lot of attention, which isn't always fun, but it's a part of who I am. I smiled as I spoke. At this, he narrowed his eyes slightly.
You're a strong person.
You think so?
Yeah. I'd say I like your appearance. I love your gemstone eyes and soft, fluffy hair. It's what makes you, you.
Thank you. An icy breeze brushed my cheek. The still lake waters began to stir once more, but Snow White didn't let go of my hand. In spite of the wind, I was toasty warm.
But I don't like mine. I hate looking in the mirror. The first time I saw my reflection, I didn't believe it was actually me. Skin as white as snow, lips and cheeks as red as an apple, bright, shiny hair. I was convinced I was looking at someone else.
Sounds intense. He nodded. Then he reached out with his free hand and cupped my cheek.
Tell me, Arisu, how do you see me?
Well, you have white hair, lilac eyes, lips as red as an apple. You're a prince as pure as the driven snow, I murmured, enchanted by his beauty.
You only see me that way because it's your dream.
What do you mean?
You idealize me too much, that's all. Once you wake up, you'll only be disappointed.
How come?
Because the real me is a monster.
Honestly, there was so much about him I still didn't understand. I didn't know what he was thinking or what feelings he kept hidden inside. But one thing was for sure, he was trying to tell me something. Oh, I get it! So that's why the answer is words?
Huh?
The answer to your riddle. I can't know for sure how you feel, Snow White, but I can at least imagine it. Since we can't know what the other person is thinking, we have to observe them and make an educated guess. which is why we have communication and games and words. The common thread linking all those things is that they require two or more people to define their value. And that applies to help, too. So if I had to guess, I'd say you're asking me to help you.
What's that supposed to mean? You can't just assume that. Plenty of things require two or more people to have meaning.
Like love?
No. There's such a thing as self-love, you know.
Okay then, romance. You can't have romance without, well, someone to romance.
You mean, like you and me?
Yeah, like you and me. You think I idealize you too much? Well, duh. I'm in love with you, silly. When you're in love, you fall under a magic spell that makes everything about the other person seem perfect.
So falling in love is like a dream?
You could say that. I love you, Snow White. I love your fickle, blunt attitude and your foul mouth. It's what makes you, you.
I don't know. But in that case, what happens when the spell is broken and you wake up? When you wake up, you'll see the real me, and then you'll change your mind about me.
If that happens, then I'll just love the real you too. Problem solved. Love and being in love are not the same thing. Love is selfless. Love accepts all your flaws and ugly parts as part of a package deal. But this is something you can do for yourself too. You can look at yourself and say, this is just who I am. Because when it comes down to it, someone who can't love themselves can never truly be happy. If you won't accept love from yourself, then you won't be able to accept it from other people either. So you may just have to try to love the Snow White you see in the mirror, because that might be the only way to heal you.
You're going to help me?
Of course!
You'll stay by my side and love me, even after you wake up.
Yes, I'll love you even after the dream comes to an end.
You make it sound easy, but it won't be.
I know that, but I'll do whatever it takes.
Like solve a riddle.
What was the correct answer anyway?
Words.
Yes! I held up my hand for a high five, but he left me hanging. Woohoo! So I switched to a fist pump instead. Same thing, more or less.
I'm impressed you found the answer. Almost like you knew it all along.
I didn't cheat, I swear!
I'm not so sure about that. But a promise is a promise. Since you won, I guess I have to do whatever you ask.
Darn tootin'! Now, what shall I have you do? I smirked impishly.
Let's hear it.
Okay, then.
I smell something sweet. Apple pie. Did you make it yourself?
Yeah. Busted.
For me?
Well, yeah. Your mom told me that you really like apple pie, so...
I see.
Look, you don't really have to eat it if you don't want to.
It's not that. You won, fair and square, and I promised to do whatever you asked. So I'll eat it.
What's gonna happen? On the way home after parting ways with Snow White, I was lost in thought.
What's the matter?
I don't think I should have forced him to do that. Thinking back, there was something unnatural about Snow White's behavior tonight. Sure, he was smiling, but Snow White wasn't the type who smiled a lot. Generally, he only ever smiled when he was talking about his old friend, or maybe when he was a tiny bit embarrassed. Unless you counted that self-deprecating smile I saw the day I met his mother. There's got to be something more to it. I stopped short. If I turned back now, could I still make it in time? In time for what?
In the end, I caved and accepted her apple pie. What do I do with this? I couldn't take it home with me. If Mother were to see it, there was no telling what she'd say. What would she think if she found out who made it for me? Honestly, I should have dropped it in the lake after she went home. That way it could feed the fish, and no one would end up getting hurt. Nestled in the wicker basket, the apple pie looked picture perfect. A strong, sugary fragrance wafted from it. Maybe just a little. Once upon a time, I dearly loved apple pie. But now... I cut a slice of pie and held it up to my mouth. It honestly looked delicious. My hand was shaking. I was terrified, knowing what would come next. I bit into the crispy crust. The next instant, an intensely bitter flavor overwhelmed my tongue as a putrid smell clogged my nostrils. My body rejected the food, and I spat it out on the spot. Then my stomach emptied its entire contents. Eventually, I couldn't bear to stand, and I collapsed to my hands and knees. Just as I thought. Not even her cooking was good enough for my body. I let out a self-deprecating laugh. How pathetic. She went to all the trouble to make it for me, and I couldn't even eat the damn thing. As my vision blurred and I struggled to breathe, I looked down at the ground. I had tarnished her apple pie with my own vomit. I couldn't let her see me like this. If she realized how disgusting I was, my life was over. I needed to hurry home. I pushed myself up with my arms. But then my strength gave out, and I collapsed back to the ground like the weakling I was.
Snow White!
Turning in the direction of the voice, I saw her running toward me. Why? What piss-poor timing. She was the last person I wanted to see me like this.
Okay, question. Theory. Does our boy Snow White maybe... I've been wondering this for a little bit, but maybe he has body dysmorphia and an eating disorder, which would actually make some sense with the whole, gazing into a mirror constantly and trying to live up to the idealization of his mother and stuff, being this perfect prince. Maybe that's why he can't eat. Now, is that because his mom has intentionally turned him off food by giving him rotten food that literally makes him sick, and now everything that he eats just triggers that revulsion? Possibly. I'm wondering. I am wondering after that. Okay, let's jump into this. See what happens. When I ran back after Snow White, I discovered him collapsed on the ground, having puked up part of the apple pie. Snow White! Hastily, I ran over and put my hands on his slender shoulders. His porcelain face was now as white as a ghost, and he was barely breathing. Are you okay?
I'm fine.
I took his hand and checked his pulse. Pulse seems normal. Red, I need some water over here.
Understood.
I took off my riding hood and wrapped it around Snow White to keep him warm. Aw.
You don't have to.
Yes, I do! Cradling his head in my hands, I laid him down onto my lap. This should help. I took out my handkerchief and wiped his mouth.
Now your handkerchief's dirty.
Guess what? That's what they're there for. Nice. He didn't say another word after that. Gently, I stroked his hair. His body was very thin compared to the average guy our age. For some reason, this struck me as painfully sad. Yeah. There was a long, long silence until at last I broke it. Feel better now?
Yeah.
He whispered in a tiny voice.
I'm sorry. You worked so hard to make that pie and I wasted it.
I don't mind. I can make you another one anytime. If anything, I should apologize to you. I had no clue you weren't feeling well.
It's not your fault.
Well, it's not yours either.
You don't think I'm disgusting?
Why would I?
I mean, just look at me.
Everyone gets sick to their stomach now and then.
It's not that.
He denied it firmly.
It's not that at all.
Huh?
I don't feel sick.
I didn't understand. For some reason, it seemed like he wasn't just saying that to make me feel better. Come on, Eureka. And to be fair, I did notice that he wasn't running a fever. As he lay on his side, it was impossible for me to read his expression. But I could faintly see his long eyelashes, and unless I was seeing things, it looked like they were trembling.
Why do you keep trying to worm your way into my heart?
Huh?
You were supposed to be the untouchable princess I could never have.
What's gotten into you all of a sudden? Don't you do this. Sir. No. I'm not having any of this.
That apple pie you made was disgusting.
Well. Now what? Really, you just like held him, got him some water, and like, have a nice night. The next night, when I arrived at the lake like usual, Snow White was nowhere to be seen. Snow White? Uh-oh. The same thing happened again the next night. And the night after that. And the night after that. Well, crappy-olio.
Hey, Eureka.
How many years ago was it when you first met him?
About 6, I'd say.
And he's been asleep all this time? Oh? Oh, wait. Has he been in a coma in the hospital? Like, does Ryuji work in a hospital in reality? Maybe? And that's why... I've got so many questions after that. Like, wait, gears are turning.
Yeah, he was always a smart kid, you know. Sharp as a tack, with very keen insight. Once he discovered the whole truth, he chose to keep sleeping instead.
He sounds like a nice guy. I bet I could fall in love with him. Do you want to help him, big brother? If there was a way to wake him, would you go for it?
Eureka, stop.
Because I want to help him.
Eureka, don't stick your nose in this. His solution was to sleep, okay? There's no point in provoking him and causing trouble all over again.
But it's not a solution. He's just sleeping. It's not going to heal him. I know you know that! Is Eureka's family like dreamwalkers, basically? Is that what their speciality is in the reality? I got so many questions.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Show me what I want to see. Tell me what I want to hear. Tucking my knees up to my chin, I hunched myself into a little ball.
You're not going to the lake tonight?
No.
Why not?
At this, I hunched down even smaller. I humiliated myself. Now she totally hates me.
What are you, 5?
I could hear Ryoshi scoffing at me, but I felt no anger. I knew I was acting childish. He was preaching to the choir. Yet, despite my silence, he seemed to see right through me.
She's probably at the lake waiting for you, you know.
Why would she?
For the same reason as you, I imagine.
What do you mean? She's not me.
Yeah, I know she's not you. And that's why she's there.
She was different. Different from my mother. Different from Ryoshi. That was what drew me to her. A magnetic pull I couldn't resist. Hey, Huntsman. Who even is she? She showed up out of nowhere and set off a chain reaction that changed my world. At first I was purely curious. But the more I learned about her, the more I wanted to know. The next thing I knew, I was spending every waking minute thinking about her, hanging off her every word. But she's an anomaly. If I spend any more time with her, my world will fall apart.
Yeah, I'm like... In reality, do people with undiagnosed trauma, are they put into like an induced coma that also creates a dream setting where they can then work through the trauma in like a safe, quote-unquote, safe environment? And they're monitored by the hunters. I mean, that seems to be a nickname that Eureka made up for her brother specifically, but basically whoever works in that kind of field. Her family seems to be, from what we've heard and read, preeminent in that field. So it's like each of the guys working... I mean, they've all had trauma, to be sure. I'm curious. But then why this world specifically is the one that's falling apart? I still need more puzzle pieces. Anyway, very interesting. Late that night, I pulled my apple pie out of the fridge. Appearance-wise, it looked normal. The crust was baked to a perfect golden brown. As for the inside, well... when I cut a slice, it looked normal too. This time I'd left the skin on the apples, which added a bright pop of color and made the filling more syrupy.
Hey, Eureka! Can I talk to you?
Perfect timing, Cinderella!
Huh?
Here, try a bite of this. Open wide and say, "Ah!" And we're back to feeding Cinderella again. I scooped up a bite of my finished apple pie and brought it to his lips.
Huh?
He hesitated for a moment, then closed his eyes and opened his mouth. Okay, now be honest. Is it gross? I waited until he had chewed and swallowed before asking.
Tastes good to me.
See, that's what I thought.
Humble brag much?
I took a bite of my own pie. But no matter how many times I tried, the result was always the same. It just tasted like an ordinary, perfectly good apple pie. Maybe the cinnamon's where I went wrong. After all, some people's constitutions couldn't handle certain spices. But then I remembered that Snow White's mother had definitely put cinnamon in hers, so I decided that couldn't be it.
What's up with the pie?
His voice was a shade more gentle than usual. Someone told me my apple pie is gross.
Ah. Well, maybe you switched up the sugar and salt by accident.
No, I definitely didn't. I tasted it myself. After all, it was a gift for a friend. Obviously, I was going to taste test it first.
Then maybe they just don't like apple pie.
No way. I was told it was their favorite. Obviously, no two pies are ever exactly alike, but...
That apple pie you made was disgusting.
I never thought he'd be so harsh. But honestly, if that was my only problem, then I would have gotten over it by now. My real problem was that he'd stopped coming to the lake. Maybe he hates me now.
Let me guess. You're talking about your Prince Charming.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes your crush doesn't like you back. It's part of life and you gotta let it go.
He cheerfully clapped me on the back. Thanks. He doesn't like me back? To me, this was the worst case scenario. Tears sprang to my eyes. The next instant, Kaguya and Red Riding Hood raced into the room. Apparently, they'd been listening just outside the door.
No, Cinderella! I told you you can't be that blunt with her. He's right. After putting up with his fickle demands night after night, she won't want to accept that he's rejected her. Red Riding Hood? Huh? I'm sorry.
But it was too late. My vision had gone blurry. You all think he's abandoned me.
Oh, Pulpit. Don't fret, there's plenty more fish in the sea. You'll get the next one.
But I don't want fish. I want Snow White.
Forget about him. He was just toying with you anyway. Please don't let him get you down.
He was toying with me?
I know it hurts right now, but time heals all wounds. Any guy who rejects you isn't worth your time.
As it turned out, Cinderella was perhaps the most sensible person in the whole family. But they were all assuming that Snow White had rejected me. I guess that's how it looks to everyone else. Having lost the strength to stand, I slumped to my knees.
Oh no! Pulpit! Are you alright?
He hates me. I couldn't possibly recover. He wanted nothing to do with me, and there was no coming back from that. Kaguya? Why is this a question mark? What's happening? What's happening? Wait!
Yeah, I reckon so.
Then Kaguya delivered the final blow, and I toppled over onto the floor.
Pulpit? Pulpit!
You're such a jerk, Kaguya! How can you pretend to be worried about me after what you just said? What kind of sadist are you? And quit shaking me by the shoulders. You're gonna make my head fall off. That was Gretel? That's why I was like, is the wizard here just to like stab us in the heart? I should have known it was Gretel. Damn you, Gretel! You piece of crap.
Gretel, could you stop copying my accent? You're taking the piss. Sorry, couldn't help myself.
Where did you come from? The next thing I knew, Gretel was smiling down at me from above. Did you sabotage my pie? Gretel.
Good grief, look at you.
Scowling, he drew near.
Oh, don't give me those puppy dog eyes, alright? What am I going to do with you? Just eat this and cheer up.
As he spoke, he pushed a piece of cookie into my mouth, and I spat it in his face. It's good.
Of course it is. If you told me it was disgusting, I'd have to wonder if you had dysfunctional taste buds. Is that even possible? It's called dysgeusia. Some people lose their sense of taste altogether. To them, it changes the taste of their food.
Oh, interesting.
That said, symptoms vary wildly from person to person. Some people lose the ability to taste specific flavors, while others struggle to taste anything at all. And for some people, it makes everything taste rancid.
Oh. His words reverberated in my mind. You had perfect timing, Gretel. I take it back. Then I thought back to Snow White's reaction to my apple pie.
Does any of this sound familiar to you, Poppet?
He puked up my apple pie. Ew. And he never ate any of my other food.
So you suspect dysgeusia might be the reason he didn't enjoy your apple pie? Or I reckon he could have an eating disorder as well.
Yeah, me too, Kaguya, me too.
Oh, like that one girls get when they're scared of getting fat. What's it called, bulimia? When they make themselves puke after every meal?
Yeah, something like that. But he's already very slim, and a man at that. Men can have eating disorders too, though it's not as common. And when you have one, you always feel like you're fat, no matter how thin you actually are. I see. Personally, I think it's healthy for women to have a little extra padding.
I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw the sentence, I thought he said extra. I thought he was gonna say extra pudding. My mind read padding as pudding. You know, women can have a little extra pudding in their lives. On their bods. Alright. Confirmed. It's canon. Red Riding Hood likes a girl with a little bit of extra padding on her. Nice.
Trying to suck up for extra romance points, dear brother.
Hey, he doesn't need help in that department, okay? Unlike somebody I know.
Bro man points. Do you mean to say I'm masculine?
Dude, there's no such thing as bro man points.
I mean, we should start it, though. Why not?
You know, speaking of nasty apple pies, there's that one you brought home the other day.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
She brought home an apple pie someone else made, but the thing was utterly inedible.
So maybe whoever made it has broken taste buds too?
Either that, or perhaps they pulled a nasty prank on our Poppet.
Wow, that's dark, man.
But of course, if anyone here is dark and twisted, it's our beloved Kaguya.
Oh, please. Don't even get me started.
Not at the moment, but if you keep taking the piss, I reckon I might get there.
Go, Kaguya, go, get him.
So tell us, is it really dysgeusia?
I don't know.
Wait, so it's possible the dude didn't reject you after all?
Well, he didn't say so point blank.
I'm not totally in the loop, but if your Prince Charming didn't shoot you down, then maybe you just gotta pay him a visit.
At this, I gasped.
Why are you looking at me like that?
It's like a veil has been lifted. No, seriously. Why didn't I ever think to go to his house? I knew where he lived, and I was on friendly terms with his mother. If he wasn't going to come see me, I could simply take matters into my own hands. Then I could ask him flat out whether he was interested in me or not. But what about the cafe?
Well, you're our poster girl. If you're not wearing your usual sunny smile, our sales will take a hit either way.
You're the best, big brother! I gave Cinderella a big hug. Oh.
What sales? The cafe's dead, remember?
Zip it, you.
Yeah, hush.
I am on my way, honey, have the phone down, never put down.